Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Project Auto YouTube channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. And in today's upload, we've got the 2020 Mazda 6 in the shop, up on the ramps. No, nothing's wrong with it. Today, we are going to show you guys how to change your oil on a Mazda 6. So, this car is due for its oil change. Pretty easy, pretty simple. Pretty similar from car to car. Each car is just a little bit different, but that's what we're doing today, so let's jump right into it. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is get your vehicle propped up, whether it be with a jack and jack stand, or in this case we're using ramps, just easier. Now this next part is going to be controversial, okay? Everybody has their own beliefs. Everybody does it slightly different. My belief is to do this when the engine is cold. I know a lot of people go to those quick oil change places and they do it with the motor hot. Yes, the oil will flow a little bit easier when it's hot, but in my opinion, when the motor's hot, you're still going to have a lot of oil that's left up in the top end of the motor. So what I like to do is I like to let the engine cool down, and plus you're not going to burn yourself on the oil, and two, all of that oil that was up in the top end is now drained all the way down to the bottom of the oil pan. So you're going to get the most oil out, all of the old oil out, before you put in your fresh new oil. So real quick before we get underneath the car, first thing we need to do to help the oil drain just a little bit better is we're going to go ahead and loosen this oil cap, just loosen it a little bit, and then just kind of prop it up. If you want to take it all the way out, you can. Just put a rag over there so dirt and stuff doesn't fall down in there. Same thing with your dipstick. Just pull it out a little bit and prop it up, just like so. This is going to allow air in as the oil comes out, so it will drain slightly faster. So let's get underneath the car. All right, so now we are underneath the car. A lot of new cars now have these plastic underbody covers that protect the undercarriage of the car. In this case, this is what we have. It covers the entire underside of the engine here. This prevents from rocks and stuff kicking up and damaging anything underneath your car. But in this case, Mazda made it very simple for us. We do not have to remove this entire cover. They gave you access points to certain things that you might need to do under here quickly, one of which being the oil change. So in this case, this panel back here, we're going to go ahead and take this off. There should be, in this case, there is two Phillips screws, or you can use a socket as well. And then there's supposed to be two push pins that hold this in, one of which has fallen out, but there's one right back there. So we'll go ahead and pull those out, pull these two screws out, and that'll give us access to the drain pan and the oil filter. All right, so I've got my Phillips. I'm gonna try to do this one-handed the best I can. But anyway, we're going to loosen these two screws. All right. Now I'm just gonna use a flat blade screwdriver to get in there, get that top out just like that, and then we should be able to pull this thing down. Okay, so we got our cover panel off. Our tree clip is right there. And then now with this panel off, you get access to your drain bolt and your oil filter. So we're gonna go ahead and remove those. All right, so in this case, this drain plug bolt right here is a 17 millimeter. So I've got my 17 millimeter in a breaker bar just to make it a little bit easier to crack it loose. And then for the oil filter, a couple different options. What I've always used is these oil filter pliers or wrench, whatever you want to call it. I'll leave a link in the description below to where you can get one of these. I love these. This has worked. I've used this for many, many years. So that's what I use. But we're going to go ahead and crack that drain bolt open, and then we will slide our pan under there and we'll start draining the oil. All right, so we've got that drain in there. It's actually almost done. It was kind of hard to film and get this all ready at the same time. But we've got that draining. We got the drain bolt sitting right there. Once this is done, we will put the drain bolt back in, and then we'll move on to getting the oil filter off. All right, so we've got all the oil drained out. We put the drain plug back in. One thing to note, do not use an impact or a drill on this, and do not over tighten this, otherwise you will strip the threads, and you will strip out that hole, and then you're gonna have you know, a problem on your hands. So these should be hand tightened with your socket, and that's what we did. We got it pretty damn tight, so it is on there. So again, don't over tighten these. The next thing is we're gonna remove this oil filter, and I will show you how these oil filter pliers work. So let me go ahead and adjust the camera angle here. There we go. So all you're gonna do, and these are adjustable, you can see, you know, for larger oil filters, but all you're gonna do is get these on here just like so. So they clamp down and they hug the oil filter, and then just slowly turn it just like so. I don't want to turn it anymore without this drain pan being under here. So I'm going to move this over. There we go. And then we're going to finish loosening it the rest of the way, just like that. Makes it so much easier to get that off. I'm going to go ahead and take the filter off the rest of the way off camera, and then we'll be back in just a second. Okay, so we got the filter off of there. One thing to note when you take this oil filter off, always look up in here at your oil filter mount point and make sure that the rubber ring gasket did not get stuck up there. If it did, get it off. The reason for that is if you end up double gasking it, because the new oil filter has a rubber O-ring on it, you will have a leak. So make sure that it didn't get stuck up there, and if it did, just pull it off and clean off the surface. But in our case, as you can see, it did come off, so it is still on the oil filter, and I will show you a trick on how to make sure that rubber O-ring comes off every time. So now we're going to go get ready to install the new filter. All right, so we've got our oil, we've got our oil filter, and we're going to come right over here. Now, one thing you should always do is pre-fill your oil filter. This keeps it from running dry on the first startup. So when you get your new oil filter, compare it. I already did, so I know this is the right one. But this is that rubber gasket I was talking about. So you want to make sure this stays attached to the oil filter and does not get stuck up on the oil filter housing. But I will show you a trick of how to make sure that it comes off every time. All right, so to make sure that that rubber gasket doesn't get stuck on there is as simple as this. Oil. So get you a little bit of oil on your finger. So we're gonna stick our finger down in here. We should be able to get a little bit. Yep, there we go. So get a little bit on your finger just like that, and lubricate this rubber gasket here, just like so. Don't need a lot, just enough to get that lubricated there. That's gonna help prevent leaks, and it's gonna keep that rubber gasket from sticking and getting stuck on the oil filter housing. So now we're going to pre-fill this oil filter and get it installed. All right, so we've got our oil filter pre-filled. That gasket is lubricated, and we're gonna get this oil filter reinstalled. Now, the thing with the oil filters is they only need to be hand tight. So as tight as you can get it by hand, that's it. You don't need to use the pliers again to crank it down. Just hand tight as much as you can. If it's, you know, a little slick oil on your hands and stuff, wipe it off, and then you can make sure it's tight, but only do it hand tight. That's it. So we've got that installed, drain plugs installed. All that's left is to fill her back up. Alrighty, so we've got our funnel put in there, and we've got our oil here. I'm not going to be able to video and try to pour this at the same time, but I do want to give you a tip. So when pouring this oil, Pour it sideways, so hold the jug like this and pour it down like that. This car holds 4.8 quarts, so this is the non-turbo engine, so it holds 4.8, so almost the entire 5-quart jug here. We'll probably pour it in till that bottom line, and then we'll get it down off the ramps, get it level, and check it. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill it up. All right, so we poured most of the oil in there, but I want to just check the level before we put the whole thing in there, because a lot of times you will still have residual oil left in there. You're never going to get it all out, so I don't want to overfill it. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this dipstick, and what we're going to do is we're going to wipe it off first and then recheck it, because you're still going to have leftover oil on this dipstick from the previous run. So we'll check this real quick. Okay guys, so we checked our oil level. It's full. Everything's where it needs to be. There's no leaks. And that's it. So we're done. That is how you change the oil on a 2020 Mazda 6 Sport with the non-turbo engine. Like I said, I will leave a link in the description below for the oil filter pliers if you want to pick up a set for yourself. And I will list all of the tools that I needed to do this job. And that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Thanks so much for stopping by. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.